やめとけよ。ハロー。
In the not-so-distant future, Earth is facing severe hunger and overpopulation, pushing humanity to conquer other planets. Meanwhile, a young man and a woman are fleeing from the authorities, only to be surrounded. In addition to the police, an extravagant man named Randa arrives in a flying car with his assistant, Sakakibera. One of his jobs is to organize the extermination of the cockroaches on Mars. They decide they've found exactly what they need: the fugitives. Chokichi and the others are then sent to Mars as both researchers and exterminators. There are several other people aboard the ship, including a guy named Jin, who suggests fighting Chokichi. After all, they'll be traveling for 39 days. The team is mostly made up of criminals, though there are a few exceptions. The mission is led by the ship's captain, Dojima, and the pilot, Mina Obari. Jin is a disillusioned underground fighter who claims to have lost everything on Earth. Alongside them is a pessimistic hacker named Ichiro, who spends his time reading a book. There's also Maria, a Russian thief, and her friend and escort named Asuka, who receives unwanted attention from the perverted Tezuka, a serial killer. A terrorist named God Lee sits silently in a corner, hidden under a cloak. When the ship finally lands, the captain shows the crew a now green Mars. Before the mission, all participants were asked to sign a contract. Chokichi initially considered refusing and accepting the death penalty for a murder he allegedly committed. However, Nanao, who was considered an accomplice and could face 10 years in prison, decided to sign. Not wanting to leave her alone, Chokichi eventually signs as well. The captain orders Obari to launch a probe that sprays cockroach repellent. After that, the team begins their expedition to check the results. They also discover the remains of the first expedition ship, Bugs 1, which was sent 10 years earlier. The ship is damaged, and Director Randa informs them that their mission is to investigate what happened. Of course, the captain divides the squad into pairs to explore the area. Chokichi and Nanao go together. She reveals that she signed the contract because she didn't want him to be executed. Meanwhile, Jin and Maria notice that there are no dead insects anywhere. Instead, they encounter enormous cockroaches walking on two legs. Jin chooses not to provoke them and quickly hides Maria behind a rock. Chokichi and Nanao also come face to face with one of these creatures. Surprisingly, Chokichi tries to greet the Martian in a friendly way. For some reason, the cockroach leaves him alive and walks away. The traumatized girl is taken back to the ship. At the same time, former officer Monique is found dead inside the ship. The captain then reveals the truth. 500 years ago, scientists discovered that the cockroaches sent to Mars were extremely resilient and eventually evolved into massive monsters. Randa joins the conversation via hologram and reveals another shocking secret: every member of the expedition has been injected with insect DNA. Each person carries an activator that, when injected into their bloodstream, triggers a temporary mutation, granting them the abilities of different insects. Each soldier has a unique species. The crew is outraged by how much has been hidden from them, and suggests leaving the dangerous planet immediately. But at that very moment, a cockroach approaches the spaceship. The terrorist, God Lee, volunteers to handle it. He transforms into a bombardier beetle, capable of attacking with a boiling jet of acid in close combat. However, the cockroach proves to be incredibly strong. Even after being hit by the attack, it resists the heat. To the horror of everyone watching, tears him apart. After that, the creature climbs onto the ship. The captain prevents Chokichi from rushing into battle, and instead transforms into a bullet ant, capable of lifting 100 times its own weight and injecting a deadly venom into its victim. With a single strike, he crushes the cockroach. But there are thousands more surrounding the ship. Obari attempts to initiate takeoff, but it's useless. The ship's systems are locked. The captain orders the team to run to the previous expedition's ship and escape using it. He will stay behind to protect them from the swarm of insects. The hacker Ichiro stays with him, and Nanao, still paralyzed, cannot be taken along. As they leave, Chokichi notices a thin thread coming out of Nanao's nostrils, suggesting something is terribly wrong. Meanwhile, the cockroaches begin flooding the ship. God Lee injects the mutagen, writhes in pain, but instead of transforming, he simply runs off without any visible change. The rest of the squad boards an armored vehicle. Tezuka climbs onto the roof and transforms into a beetle capable of firing a powerful jet of fuel, effectively turning the vehicle into a jet-propelled machine. Chokichi barely manages to grab onto the vehicle before it takes off. Back at the ship, the captain and Ichiro seal it off and release all the oxygen, sacrificing themselves to take as many insects as possible with them. During the escape, Jin asks Chokichi about Nanao. He explains that he met her while she was being beaten by a pimp, and he stepped in to protect her. After beating the man, he warned him to stay away from her forever. But at that moment, Nanao grabbed a knife and stabbed her attacker in the back. Chokichi then took the knife from her and stabbed the already lifeless body multiple times, taking the blame for the murder. Jin admits he has nothing left to lose. He couldn't save the people he loved. But maybe Chokichi still has a chance. Suddenly, something resembling a tsunami appears on the horizon, but it's not a normal wave. It's a massive swarm of cockroaches. Thanks to the jet propulsion, the vehicle manages to break through the first wave, though Tezuka is badly shaken by the impact. But a second wave is already approaching, much larger than the first. Asuka and Maria volunteer to cover Tezuka. They transform into powerful beetle types and bravely withstand the impact. However, the vehicle is thrown sideways, slams into the ground, and flips over. The trio on the roof is thrown off, while the damaged vehicle, carrying the injured squad members, switches to autopilot and continues forward. The cockroaches quickly find the girls and kill them. Tezuka meets the same fate. The remaining survivors regain consciousness at the end of their journey, arriving at the first expedition ship, Bugs 1. All this time, Director Ronda's drone has been closely monitoring them. Obari begins operating the control panel, but instead of launching the ship, it only transmits data back to Earth. The Yakuza brothers stay outside and are suddenly attacked by unknown figures using firearms. Both are killed before they can inject the mutagen, leaving their cricket-based powers unused. Inside, the rest of the team encounters cockroaches that have learned to use machine guns. They apparently found the weapons aboard the Bugs 1 ship. Ronda receives a report about the team's situation. He then makes a shocking call to a cockroach that can speak human language. The mutant observing the Bugs 1 reports that Captain Dojima is still fighting, but everything is going according to plan. The three remaining survivors finally use the mutagen for the first time. Chokichi gains the abilities of an Asian giant hornet, one of the deadliest and most venomous insects on Earth. Jin acquires the leg strength and jumping ability of a desert locust. Meanwhile, Obari gains the bladed limbs of a praying mantis. The intelligent cockroach enters the Bugs 1 ship and restores the oxygen flow. It praises the dying captain for his bravery. Then, the truth becomes even darker. The jewel wasp can lay its larvae inside a victim's brain, controlling them like a puppet until the larvae mature and consume the host. Under this influence, one of the crew members turns traitor, kills the captain, and revives another infiltrator using water. This man possesses the traits of chironomid larvae, capable of entering cryptobiosis in an immortal state where just a small amount of water can bring him back to life. The female traitor reveals that she has completed her primary mission. She has obtained the cockroach egg that Ronda needs. Now it's time to return to Earth. Meanwhile, Nanao's body becomes increasingly entangled in a mysterious web-like substance. As the traitors prepare to leave Mars, the remaining fighters aboard Bugs 1 use their enhanced abilities to battle the cockroaches. As the chaos settles, they witness something astonishing: gigantic pyramids built by the insects themselves. Suddenly, they see the Bugs 1 ship taking off in the distance. Ronda contacts them through the drone and finally reveals his true plan. He needs mutant eggs to create an entire army of insects on Earth. None of them, except Ichiro and the traitor, were ever meant to return. The pyramids are proof that evolution is inevitable, and that the cockroach society is developing in a way similar to humanity. Inside the ship, Ichiro explains to the traitor why he ended up on Mars. His mother fell ill, and he couldn't provide for his younger siblings. He was framed at work and fired, forcing him to seek easy money. The woman, however, has a different motivation. She wants power. With her new ability to control cockroaches, she's already planning to command Ronda's future army. Suddenly, something begins to emerge from the egg. The traitor tries to control the newborn creatures but fails. The new generation has developed immunity. As the ship prepares for takeoff, the creatures turn on her and tear her apart. The spacecraft launches into space, causing panic in Rhonda, who demands that Ichiro stop the departure. The newborn mutants don't intend to leave either. They call for help from their kind. And to everyone's surprise, the cockroaches now have wings. Massive swarms rise into the air and attack the ship's engines, forcing it sideways. The Bugs 1 rapidly loses speed and can no longer overcome gravity. Ichiro manages to transform into a larva just in time, once again cheating death. Meanwhile, the remaining trio begins fighting the new Martian army, barely holding them off until the arrival of the second-generation cockroaches. These insects, marked on their foreheads, move like humans and are far more agile than their predecessors. Jin injects a second dose of the mutagen, doubling his abilities. But even then, he cannot defeat the marked cockroaches. Chokichi follows his example, and things begin to improve. Jin keeps injecting more activator, gaining even greater strength. He grows wings and continues crushing cockroaches in the air, while Chokichi dominates on the ground. However, Jin begins to suffer severe side effects. He reaches a point of no return. He will never be human again. With one final strike, he kills one of the 2 leader cockroaches, then collapses from exhaustion. Chokichi attacks the remaining marked cockroach, but it easily breaks his stingers. He is on the verge of death. When suddenly, Nanao appears from behind a pyramid, flying like a beautiful butterfly. She floods the battlefield with a radiant light. But it's not just a visual effect. The butterfly releases explosive scales that cover the entire area. Chokichi rushes in, trying to save her from the explosion. But he fails. Jin manages to take flight and save Chokichi instead, but he is already on the brink of fully transforming into an insect. Before dying, he asks Chokichi to return home safely, because Nano gave her life for him. At that moment, due to the explosion, a glass of water spills onto Ichiro's body, reviving him once again. As Chokichi fights off the remaining insects inside the ship, he encounters the last marked cockroach, exhausted but still alive. Even without the mutagen, he overpowers it. However, at the last moment, he decides to spare the creature. Inside the ship, Chokichi confronts Ichiro and charges at him, despite the weapon in Ichiro's hands. A shot is fired, but Chokichi is unharmed. Ichiro actually shot another cockroach that was approaching from behind him. With only 2 seats available in the escape pod, the 2 of them launch into space. A massive swarm of cockroaches gathers, watching their escape. The Martians spread their wings to pursue, but are stopped by the same cockroach Chokichi spared earlier. The 2 survivors leave Mars. The confidential information gathered during the expedition is leaked onto the internet, becoming public knowledge. This was Ichiro's doing. Director Ronda's mission has failed, but he was prepared for that. His backup plan is to go into hiding and trade Japan's secrets with other nations. However, his assistant turns on him and shoots him. But even then, Rhonda was one step ahead. The bullet was poisoned, and she dies instead from the hornet's venom. The protagonists return to Earth to bury their fallen comrades. But for Chokichi, this is not the end. When the time is right, he will return to the Red Planet once again. That's the end. If you've made it this far, comment with the secret word, which is planet. Hit the like button, and subscribe. Until next time.